If you've struggled with perfectionism, then this episode is for you. My guest is Rob Anspach. He's been a dear friend since my Piranha marketing days, and I've had a front row seat to his incredible journey from being a struggling carpet cleaner to becoming an expert marketing strategist, SEO expert, author, publisher, speaker, and founder of Anspach Media, which is an innovative agency that helps doctors, lawyers, and business owners connect with their ideal audiences through effective communication and storytelling. Rob has produced 43 books with more in the works and has authored 21 of his own, including the now infamous Rob Versus series, which blends sarcasm, satire, and downright calling out the ignorant and unethical. On top of all that, he also hosts the Heroes podcast, where he interviews business owners and somehow over the years found time to have 6 kids through all that. While recording this episode, we had all kinds of tech issues. So if you're watching on YouTube, you may notice that there's points where my mouth looks like it's one of those badly dubbed 1970 films. But things don't always have to be perfect to be awesome. So I invite you to enjoy this imperfect episode that I'm sure will enlighten and entertain you as we dive into the mind of my visionary, often sarcastic friend and all-around good guy, Rob Anspach.
Hello and welcome to Hero Up, the podcast that inspires and challenges you to step up and become heroic in all areas of your life. I'm your host, Tony Stark Polici, and it's my goal to give you practical, actionable advice and insights into copywriting, mindset, lifestyle, and impact. On this show, we'll explore how to create compelling and persuasive marketing messages, and I'll give you clever tips to make you stand out as a hero. Whether you're an entrepreneur, freelancer, a coach, or a creative, this podcast is for you. So, let's dive in.
All right. So excited to be here with you, buddy. It's been a long journey. So we've known each other. We were talking before we got started in 1998.
26 years.
So at the time of this recording, that's 26 years, and we still talk to each other, which is a good thing.
Yes.
So, Rob, tell me, how are you doing today?
Physically, emotionally, mentally, financially.
I'm
doing great.
Oh, that's good. All right. So, Rob, you and I first met back when you were in a completely different career.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a career. It was more of a, I'm going to just jump into this thing and see what it does. And the first 3 years, I almost lost my financial ass. And, I saw an ad and it said, hey, get your butt over here in Arizona and learn from all these geniuses. And that's what I did. And that's when I met you. And, it's for 26 years. You have been the one, I think, that has always kept me accountable. You have been that mentor, and, you helped me establish what my marketing should be. Not only in the cleaning business, but when I left the cleaning business, you kept me on the straight and narrow. And, I started using all those marketing techniques, this copywriting skills, for the good of society. And, I've just tried to be a better person. And, but it was funny because, I was thinking about this morning, and, you've done probably more to, for me than a lot of people have over the course of almost 30 years. And I remember one time I had a location. I had all my cleaning company, I had a flooring store, my janitorial, and the landlord at the time liked to fix stuff himself. He didn't want to hire contractors. And we had a torrential downpour, and it came in and ruined everything in the shop. We had water everywhere, inches of water. And one of the things that you said to me when I called you up was, this too shall pass. And the thing is that I've used that phrase probably 1,000 times since. Because every time something comes up, every time there's a dumpster fire of of a problem with a customer, this too shall pass always helped me not get so overwhelmed, and sometimes I had to fire the customer because they were just being indignant. But the thing is that when you can sit back and say, this too shall pass, the situation's not going to last forever. And usually it resolves itself within a few days. If you keep your mind focused on the bigger picture, you're not going to get all emotional, which is what a lot of entrepreneurs do. So, I want to thank you for that.
Wow. I'm really touched by that, brother. Looking back on our relationship, I tend to remember the great things that you did for me and not necessarily anything that I did for you. So having you reflect that back to me and what an impact they made on your life, it's really touching. And, you're talking about emotional entrepreneurs getting emotional. I'm like fighting back actual tears right now because it's so touching.
Well, there's no tears in this podcast.
Yeah, there's no tears in the podcast. Right? So actually, if you're listening to this podcast and you intend to keep listening, or you've listened to some other ones, you may have seen some tears, and you probably will in the future, because Hero Up is all about being real. And, but we're going to try not to be a couple blubbering crybabies on this one.
Well, and you've been on my podcast many times.
Right.
It's called E-Heroes. And I like the title of yours because, everybody can be an entrepreneur hero. That's what E-Hero stands for. You got to go beyond that. You have to learn how to be emotional. You have to learn to be, spiritual, financial. All those things make the hero in us. And this podcast, Hero Up, is bringing that hero to the forefront. What makes us who we are. And there was times that I thought I'd always be a carpet cleaner. I really did. I stepped into the world, within, a couple weeks, and my wife's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm being an entrepreneur. She's like, yeah, but you hate cleaning the house. I clean for others. But, I had to prove her wrong because, that's what I do. I'm very stubborn that way. But the thing is that stubbornness almost led me to bankruptcy because I just wasn't making enough money. Not until I discovered, you and everybody, at that event, which, allowed me to absorb the marketing, bring it back into the business. And the cleaning business lasted 19 years before I decided to sell it and focus on consulting and writing books and doing all the wonderful stuff that I do. And the thing is that I still think sometimes I'm still in the cleaning business because I'm cleaning up the messes that everybody on the digital world, the websites, the social media posts that they make, I'm still cleaning them up and making them better. And
isn't that interesting? Yeah, that's interesting. It's like you've pivoted from a physical, back-breaking form of cleaning to now cleaning up messes in other areas. And one of the things I know about you, Rob, is that you're pretty good at stepping in and cleaning up other people's messes. One of the things that I have some experience with myself, as you know, we've had the opportunity to really share, honestly and openly with each other about the struggles that we've had in our lives, and our businesses. And there's a lot of cleaning up after others that happens. But I think what's great is that you pivoted out of that physical cleaning into a business which not only has provided you much more income, but has saved you from the back-breaking work that carpet cleaners. There's still a lot of guys that not a lot, 3 that I connect with who are still carpet cleaners now. Yeah. And it's been, 30 years for some of them, more for others. Yeah. And, when you get to our age, you're a lot younger than me, but, cleaning carpets at 60, 65 years old, that's hard work. Mm-hmm. So pivoting into consulting, and what you've done with your consulting business is fantastic. And we're going to talk about that later. But I want to just step back a minute to this moment that you talked about. So tell our listeners how long you've been married at this point.
35 years.
35 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's tremendous. And how many kids do you and Kim have?
6.
6. So, for anybody listening, imagine what it must have been like trying to build a business with, raising 6 kids. There was never a lack of, how can I put this? Things to address, responsibilities to handle, mouths to feed, right?
Yeah.
And the fact
and the thing is, it wasn't always easy because probably the first 10 years maybe of the carpet cleaning business, we were struggling, and the kids were mad at me because I'd be out late constantly doing night jobs to make money. And it was a struggle because those kids, my older kids, we although we communicate now, we didn't communicate as much back then. So there was a struggle. And it wasn't until I moved into a bigger house. They each got their own rooms, and I stopped refusing. I started refusing late night work because I needed to bring back the dynamics of the family. And then it's funny because my younger kids, get my attention more than the older kids. And that's always been a contention for the older kids. You weren't there for us when we were in school. You didn't help us with homework. And now I'm starting to help my grandkids with homework and bonding with them differently than I did my own, my early kids.
Yeah.
And, so that they still sometimes will say, hey, you're giving the grandchild more attention than you did us. Well, I had a sacrifice back then. That's the thing about running a business. Early on, you take whatever you can get, until you start to learn, hey, I don't need to take whatever I can get. I can just raise my prices. I can do this, this, and this. I can attract better clients. And it took me a while to figure all that out. Once I did, things started getting better for everyone. We weren't as stressed. We had money in the bank. We took better vacations. We did all these things, but I think as an entrepreneur, you don't realize that right away.
Yeah.
You realize there's going to be sacrifices, but you don't always realize that, it may affect your kids. It may affect your marriage. And so, you worked at it. We worked at it all the time. And it wasn't always, hey, I do this, you do this. Sometimes it was yelling. Sometimes it was screaming. Sure. But it was, we wanted to make it work.
Rob, when in your cleaning career did you stumble upon Piranha Marketing, what Joe and I were doing with the cleaning industry?
Well, it was.
How many years
I started the cleaning business in 95, so it was 98. Okay. So 3 years later.
3 years. Okay.
And, it was, I knew how to clean carpet, but I didn't know how to market. And I was finding that, spending gobs of money for the newspapers and the yellow pages was just making me look like every other carpet cleaner. There was no what's in it for anybody to want to call this guy because it looked like I was the same as them. And so the marketing that I learned from you guys, the copywriting, the everything, the mentality, because you have to have a different mentality to be able to say, I'm not running ads like anybody else anymore. I'm pulling back. I'm going to write direct response letters to the neighborhoods that I want to be in. And once I started to do that, my clientele was so much better. I mean, I think before the marketing, my average sale was under $100, which was pathetic. After, sending these customized direct response letters to the neighbors that I wanted to be in, or the customers that I wanted to be in the neighborhoods that they were, I think our average sale went up to like $600. And that's a heck of an increase.
Huge. Yeah.
And you know, but it's sad. I look back. I was charging more money back then than some of these cleaners are today. I'm thinking they got 10 times the cost now.
Right.
And all they're doing is busting their butt. And I don't understand why they're doing it the way they do it. I think, you know, they think about just price as an attractive thing. And that was one of the things that I changed, because when I had the cleaning business, my slogan was, we clean your carpet, not your wallet. And I wanted everybody to think, hey, you know what? You can afford me because I'm cheaper.
Yeah.
And all I attracted was people that didn't have any money.
Right.
And they had the trashiest carpets ever. When I changed everything and just marketed to better neighborhoods, people were paying more money and their carpets weren't even dirty.
Yeah. That's true. Better customer.
You know, and so when you reflect on that and you look at the marketing now that I'm doing, where most of my clients are lawyers, doctors, and high-level entrepreneurs, I don't do startups because startups to me are like being a carpet cleaner again. They don't have any money, and you're working 10 times hard to try to get them to that level where they are going to start making money.
Right.
So I'd rather have someone that's already established, you know, because they have the money that they can afford to invest to take them to the next level.
So, Rob, when you made this pivot, I seem to remember us having a conversation, and I don't know if you remember this or not, but you were complaining about the cost of the course. And when I asked you what your price was, and I'm sure that my reply was something along the line of, well, you know, after you implement our marketing, you'll be charging 3 times as much. You'll pay for this course in literally 2 jobs. And what you just said to me was you increased it by 6 times, which is, you know, amazing. And I remember you being one of the most clever marketers. You know, I'll never forget the ad that you used where you had the suspenders, right? Now, you know,
it was just my head.
It was just your head, like early photoshopping, you know, the kind of stuff that now everybody does. This was, you know, revolutionary. It's so funny.
I never wore a tie back then.
Yeah.
I just photoshopped my head on somebody's body and called it a day.
I remember seeing it was like, wow, Rob's really like upgraded his wardrobe, because you were always just very casual, you know? And then years later, when you finally told me what you did, I just laughed. It's so brilliant, because, you know, part of marketing is not only going after the right market, but it's also being creative. I think the most important part of being great marketers is being an innovator. And I think what you talked about a minute ago with these people still charging these same prices, they're trapped in this price game, right? It's a race to the bottom. It's horrible. But so let's shift away from that. And I want to talk a little bit about, you know, what you're doing now. So you're 10 years in, things have shifted. You're in a bigger house. Family's going good. You recognize that you have not had the kind of quality time with some of your younger kids. And I had the same thing. You knew my stepkids first and foremost. You know, I raised them from 7 and 3. And I spent a lot more time going to an office back when Joe and I were running that company. And then in 2000, when I left and I came home and I never left, you know, my younger kids have had more of my time. And I really made a commitment to raise my family. For me, part of that was because of the condition that their mother was in, and it really needed to be there and be on top of things. But here's my question. So as things shifted and you saw your life getting more stable, there was more money, there was more time. When did you start thinking about, I don't want to do this anymore?
Probably the day after I started.
Probably the day you what?
The day after I started doing cleaning carpet. It was tough, but you know, it was, I think it was in 2000. You know, it was the second time I went back to the seminar, and it got me thinking. I'm like, it was funny because I had designed some of these ads. I had written some of the copy, And Piranha Marketing, Joe and you were requesting copies of this. And other cleaners were asking, hey, Rob, can you help us? And I thought, wow, you know what? I'm on to something. But it was something that you helped me create. You were that dynamic. If it wasn't for you and Joe, I wouldn't be here. Not in this position, not how I am now. So you guys were the catalyst. You lit a fire under my ass and said, you know what? This is how it works. Do it. And so I did it. And so it was, people started asking, hey, Rob, design ads for us. Do this, do this. And I was like, okay. And so, I had a lawyer come out and reach out. He saw something I created. He said, can you design that, something like that for me? And I'm like, well, yeah. So I did. And I got paid enough that I took the kids and Kim. We went down to Disney World for a week. And, that to me was a transition. I knew right then that within a couple of years, I had to be able to do something. I wanted to do more than just clean carpet. And so I created Anspach and Associates in 2001, which then became Anspach Media. But 9/11 happened. And so, everybody in my town panicked. This was before the internet really took off. Yes, right. We had email. Yes, we had some, other services here, but we didn't have Google yet. I mean, I think Google was starting to get there, but it was still in its infancy, not like it is today. So I started learning how to do a lot of this internet stuff. And then it was years later, we started getting social media. So I'm still running the carpet cleaning business, and I decided, but I still was doing the coaching on the side. And then in 2013, I wrote my first book, and I got inspired by that book coming back from another seminar. I guess it was when I met you in Arizona, but it wasn't through your company. It was through Infusionsoft, which I used them for like a few months. I couldn't stand it. Enough of that gave me the inspiration to write this book. And I wanted to make it as simple as possible, because everything I do, I try to make it simple, because I hate complicated stuff. And that book immediately sold thousands of copies. And I'm like, I think I'm on to something. So I partnered with Paul to do the Optimize This book, which is all about SEO. And then I wrote another book a year later called Lessons from the Dojo. And these books were able to allow me to take more vacations and start taking the kids places that we hadn't been to before. And I realized, you know what? The cleaning business has to go. And I sold it to a gentleman who tanked it within 6 months because he didn't want to do the marketing. He didn't want to charge people the prices I was charging. He didn't want to do it. He just said, I'm going to offer all your clients a cheaper price because that's what I do. Well, dude, you could have, they would have paid you 4 times more than you were charging them. And, it was one of those situations where he paid me some money down. He was supposed to pay me so much money over a period of time. Within 6 months, those payments disappeared. And my wife's like, aren't you going to go after him? I'm like, nope, I don't even care. I'm doing well over here. I don't want to be chasing nickels for dimes,
Yeah.
And it was just, I didn't want the business back. I didn't want the money. I didn't even care. And, sometimes we look back on things and think, was that a lesson, or was that an opportunity? And I think just selling the business and getting out of it was the opportunity I needed to focus all my energy on coaching, on helping people with their books, on, giving them more of the digital marketing that they needed. And, I enjoy what I do, because here's the thing is that, yes, I was providing a service for my local community, but I always yearned for more.
Yeah.
and I can't serve the world if I'm in this tiny little community. And so I thought, you know what? We have these phones, we have these laptops, we can go anywhere. I don't have to be restricted to a local community. And basically now I can work with customers all over the world. I can go all over the world and work. And, to me, that's the ultimate in entrepreneurship.
Sure, absolutely. And you have connected with some incredibly well-connected people, major influencers. You've made a massive impact with your books and books that you've written for clients. So that stretch. And the thing that I picked up on that you said, which really resonates with me, is that sometimes it is just somebody giving us an idea and then validating that whatever you come up with based on that, the catalyst that kicks off an idea is valid, incredible, and it works. And I think that's so important as entrepreneurs and leaders. One of the things that and I think we share this, if I misspeak, you correct me, is that we want to inspire other people to do great things, to go beyond whatever limitations they think they might have for their lives, and stretch people. You and I both share faith. We're both men of God, and so I know that's a big component of what drives on, which is really caring about people.
And, well, and for me, it was never about the money. The money was a secondary. It was always about freedom. I wanted to call the shots. I wanted to, do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it, and for the benefit of whom I wanted to do it with. And lately it's been about legacy. What am I leaving behind for the next generation to learn from? Being on these podcasts, people can come back and listen, read the books that I produce. I want people to understand that I went through the same struggles. I'm doing, all this so that future generations can learn, and it's not always about my sarcastic personality, but it's, what's in those books that can help, shape somebody else.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I have laughed myself sick at some of the stuff in your books. Like I'll be reading and just bust out laughing. So, that the fact that you step into that sarcastic side and really have turned that into kind of a niche for yourself with your books is, I love it. I think it's fantastic.
Well, and the thing is that I was sharing these stories out anyway to people.
Yeah.
And, I figured let's assemble them into a book and see what happens. And, I shared this draft out of Rob versus the Scammers. And, everybody loved the book except one person. And they said, well, Rob, it's just a collection of stories. I don't see how this is a book.
Guess they never heard of Chicken Soup for the Soul.
And I'm thinking to myself, whatever, yes, I wanted their validation, but I didn't get it. But I got all these other people that were laughing and carrying on. And so we launched the book. It was, people loved it. And they're sending me pictures of posing with the books, and they're hanging, having a great time with them. And I thought, I have enough material left over. I can make a second one. And then as I got the second one done, I had enough material to write the third one and a fourth one and a fifth one. And now there's 8 of them, and I still have enough material for 2 more. And the thing is that people can see themselves in this situation, and they laugh and they carry on and they remember who I am. But I also consider these books rejection marketing, because if you don't have a sense of humor, if you're not sarcastic, you're not going to appreciate the books, and you're not going to be a good client. So, read the books, and if you laugh, great, you're a good client, and I think you'll appreciate what I can do for you. But yeah, it's just, there are people out there that really, I don't know, maybe they were born with a stick up their ass. I don't know, but they don't appreciate humor.
Yeah. My buddy Terry, who, you are the guy that helped me take my my book, my first book, from ebook to actually international bestseller. Terry, who used to work at Front of Marketing, I don't know if you ever met him, but Terry's been a friend of mine a little longer than you, 31 years, I think. And he helped me write my first book. But he has this saying, people who take themselves too serious have a serious problem. And, you know, I love the simplicity of that, which goes along with your theory or your desire to keep things simple. It's like, we got to be able to laugh at ourselves and other things in life. And the rejection marketing is a great concept. Like, not everybody is your customer.
Right.
So let's talk about that, because let's talk about like approval. You know, you mentioned a really powerful point here. You sent this book out to everybody, but there was one individual who we don't have to name, doesn't even matter who it is, but that person didn't approve of your book. And it sounds
it was funny, as after all these other people are posing with the picture, that person finally posed with the picture and sent it to me. And
oh yeah. Okay.
And I'm like, okay, great. I'll share your picture out because you sent it to me, but I know that you really didn't want this to be, as successful as it was. But
how has the approval of others played into the decisions you've made as a marketer?
I'm kind of like Shrek in that movie where he says he's an onion. I have very thick skin. So I love when people send me pictures of books. I love when people say, hey, I love your stuff. If they say, Rob, I can't stand it, they leave me horrible reviews, I let it go. Because if I focus on all that negativity, I will never get anything done. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck that way. So I focus on that positive, and I wake up every day and I'm like, okay, who can I physically upset today? I do it. I want to get the triggering done so that I can get on my wave, making the people that I want to make happy or laugh. Because, the thing is that when social media came out, I think more people were friendly. The problem is that it's some people never even opened a newspaper, but they used to have that column you could write in with your thoughts. Social media has become that. It's given a voice to people who shouldn't ever have a voice. And they just say whatever they want. I'm like, dude, you just made social media not social at all. You did the opposite of what it's supposed to be. And so I tell people, I said, look, if you're going to get on social media, do you disagree with something? Move along. Or put it on your own feed. But there's people out there that I don't know what their problem is, but they get triggered by everything. And I'm like, okay, you know what? You need to live in a bubble with no technology, no nothing. Read a book or something. Go. Don't get on social media. And so, you look at that and go, should I even carry on anymore on social? Mm-hmm. And when I get on social media, I sometimes will promote a book. Sometimes I'll promote what I do. Most of the times I just share stories. And I have people that'll say, hey, Rob, for some reason I haven't seen your feed in a while and I missed that laughter. And that's what keeps me going. Because, in this world that we're in with all the negativity, is that sometimes it's just one person that says, I miss what you do. And so I focus on that. I never, even my clients now, I don't say, look, your stuff's going to go viral. Because to me, going viral is that you attract a whole bunch of people that are never going to be your client anyway. Right. And you're never going to make any money on this viral thing, and you can't take likes to the bank. So why don't you just focus on sharing your message out there? And if it affects one person and that one person contacts you, that's all you need. It's the right one person can be the difference between elevating your business and you just don't know. But a lot of people just won't hire people that with their videos that went viral because it's not real. It's not real to them. They want somebody that's real, raw, emotional, that can solve their problem right then and there.
Right. Absolutely.
So, it goes back to the whole simplicity thing. I'm not a funnels guy. I hate funnels. I think most of these businesses that use funnels are one funnel away from a nervous breakdown or a mental breakdown because they Frankenstein their systems together. And that's not what an entrepreneur is supposed to do. We're supposed to create something that's simple, that gets the job done, that attracts the right types of clients, and not make those clients jump through 1,000 hoops to get to us. I was on a website yesterday, no phone number, no email address. The only way you could contact them was through their form. And I was like, I don't want to fill out the form. I want to be able to pick up the phone and talk to somebody. And so a lot of them are hiding behind what I call faceless websites. You don't know who's going to answer the form. You don't know where they're located. You don't know their phone number. And so for me, it's, know, like, trust, but also feel safe. And I think since COVID, everybody wants to feel safe with the decisions that they make. That, am I hiring this guy because I know, like, and trust him, but do I feel safe with him? And then that's one of the skills that I learned in the cleaning business is that, the majority of the clients that I served, I was going into homes where it was just the wife, maybe with a couple kids. The husband was at work. I had to make them feel safe because I'm a guy coming in with all this equipment. And a lot of times that's intimidating to people, So, I think everything that we do going forward as a marketer to sell product or to deliver a product of some sort has to make that client feel safe.
It's good. I agree. So this feeling safe, I think that's really important right now in our world. It doesn't feel safe. A lot of things don't feel safe. And as marketers, it really is important that we project an image that, you can trust me. You're safe with me, especially in the service business. Rob, I want to shift a minute here to talk more about kind of personal stuff. So you love going to Disney.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is one of the favorite things that you do. And it sounds to me earlier when you were talking about this client that you had, you made enough to take your entire family to Disney, that was a shift for you. The ability to, because Disney's not a cheap trip, especially if you got a family of 6.
And when you do it every year, it doesn't get cheaper.
Yeah. And you're not close to Disney. It's not like you can drive over there. I mean, I'm 6 hours and I'm away, I'm at the one in Anaheim, but take me back to how you felt when you realized that you had the capability to do one project for somebody and fund an entire trip to Disney.
Yeah, that was kind of the game changer because, before that I would struggle and maybe have enough money to go to the beach for a day or two, but to get thousands of dollars from a client and now we have the ability to go to, this destination that I hadn't been to for 15 years and be able to take my kids and to see their eyes pop when they get there and see Mickey and the characters and but to me it was beyond that because Walt Disney is the ultimate entrepreneur. He built this enormous media conglomerate from a vision. And so every time I go there, I learn new things. I learn, how they kind of, attract their clients. So we're there the first time. And to me, it was like, I was able to do this with a shift in marketing. Imagine if I could do this even on a larger scale. And then it was 3 years later that we had enough money to buy a bigger house. And basically our mortgage payment doubled because we now have this bigger house.
Right.
But without that marketing, I wouldn't have been able to do any of it. And so, people out there are thinking, well, should I learn marketing? Yeah. Every entrepreneur that has a business should at least learn how to do it. And if you just don't have time to do it, hire the people that can do it for you. But you should at least know the basics, because having, the phone people, newspapers design these ads that look like your competitors doesn't work. But going to Disney, the first couple of years, we went every 5 years, 2000, 2005, 2010, 2015. There was a shift in 2015 that now we start going every year. So every year from 2015 to now, a couple of years, we went twice a year. And so this year, we're actually taking kids, grandkids, nieces. There's 15 of us going in May.
Wow.
It's a lot of money. But the thing is that every time now I go back, I get inspired, to either raise my prices or pick on, attract new clients. And so it to me, it becomes part of the mentality that, this is why I'm an entrepreneur. I can give these gifts of these cool vacations to my kids and grandkids. And in fact, this year Kim and I are taking her mom to France at the end of the year for her 80th birthday. You look at all these trips that I've taken. I know entrepreneurs who have never left their hometown because they're not charging enough. They're not, and ironically, I look back to when I started and I'm thinking, this is why I wanted to be. I thought at the time I wanted to be cheaper because it would attract all these clients. But when you factor in, vacations and retirement and insurance and all these things that you didn't think about when you first start your business, you're thinking, oh man, I need to raise my prices. Now I'm working probably 4 hours a day versus working 12 hours, 18 hours when I first started.
Yeah. Huge shift.
So it's ultimately, we don't want to be a slave to the creation that we brought in, to this world. We don't want to be a slave to our business. We want the business to be able to make enough money so that we can go off and do what we want. And I think people forget that. And I see so many of them, so many entrepreneurs still working 18-hour days. And I can't stand that word grind.
Mm-hmm.
You keep grinding, you're going to grind your ass into the ground and you're going to stroke out. And so stop grinding, stop hustling, learn to do things differently.
Yeah, I love that perspective. Rob, tell me about a time when you felt like giving up, or maybe a time when you felt there was something that was going on that just seemed so overwhelming you didn't know what to do.
Well, a week before I went to Arizona in 98, I'd sent an email to my old boss, who was one of the bigger cleaning companies in my town.
Yeah.
And he says, okay. And he responded back, in 2 weeks, let's talk. You can come to my office. We'll sit down, see what kind of salary we can give you and your old position. And I'm thinking, I was making probably $35,000, $40,000 a year working for him. And after the event, I said, screw it. I'm never emailing that guy again. But yeah, I was probably at that sheer bottom where I was going to give up what I started, because, 3 years and not really making any money and just that opportunity to go to to Arizona to learn from you guys, to learn marketing. And that was the mind shift.
Yeah, that's great. You said earlier that one of the things this too shall pass has been really powerful. One of the things that's been very powerful for me, in addition to that one, is don't quit 5 minutes before the miracle. And we never know when that 5 minutes is. But imagine, what would happen if you just said, I'm done. None of this would have happened. All those beautiful books on your shelf behind you, none of that. You'd have been broken, like miserable. It's amazing. So that's a powerful shift. Mindset is so important. It really is so important. Rob, how do you find time for one of the things I love about you is you're constantly posting pictures of movies that you're watching. That's some of the social media activity that I see, part of what I see. It's not the only thing. But whenever I see one of those, I'm like, Rob is taking time. Like he takes time. And I just imagine you sitting there, whether it's with your wife or with your grandson or with any of the grandkids or any of your kids. You talked earlier about how you just worked earlier in the business. Now you've shifted.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my question. How have you found it possible to make that time in your life? And what kind of advice would you give to anybody in business so they don't have to miss so many years with the people that they love?
Well, these become your umbilical cord. Rip it out. Turn it off. Turn the notifications off. I think we've all been, like Pavlov's dog. It gets trained because of the ding and the food and everything. We get trained to respond to this every time it dings, every time it notifies us. So I've turned the volume down. I've turned all the notifications off. I respond to emails, once in the morning, sometimes late at night. That's it. Now with the pictures on, then I share some of the movies that I watch. I love to just decompress. And sometimes those, watching some of those, what I call older movies, some of the new movies are terrible.
Yeah.
I like watching movies from the 80s and 90s. They're just funnier. They have better stories. And so I'll snap a picture and I'll just tell people, hey, guess what I'm watching. And some people just deliberately post wrong answers because they think it's funny. But
guilty as charged. I posted a lot of the wrong answers.
It just gets people to not take life so serious. When I'm done after my 4 hours, and I'll get up in the morning and I'll work, like 2-3 hours, take a break, take lunch, come back, finish it up for an hour, and I'm done. And I'll go outside. Kim and I will walk, we'll work in the garden. We'll do other stuff, and I'll get in the car and we'll just do errands. I used to hate errands. Because I don't know about you, but every time I go to the grocery store, I know what I want and I go in and get it. I think Kim just wants me to get in all my steps because she's all over the grocery store. But, it's spending time. It really is. When I was younger, I thought work was the be all do all thing. You just had to do it. Now it's like I spend more time sometimes taking naps than I do working. And people are like, well, but how do you get all these books done? How do you create all this stuff? You're everywhere on the internet. Yeah, it's perceived. I have a program that does all my social stuff. I load it. It's probably loaded with thousands of pieces of content that I've created over the years. And it just rotates through. And so it looks like I'm on the internet 24/7. No, keep it simple.
So systems and technology, yeah.
You gotta have some systems, but you don't need to be overloaded with a whole bunch of systems that are nothing but shiny objects.
Mm.
And I think that was the mentality that, even back when I had the cleaning business, a lot of cleaners would be buying the newest, the most shiniest equipment. So all they're doing at the end of the day is working for that equipment. For me, I didn't care what the equipment looked like as long as it did the job that it was supposed to do.
Right.
I could go into a house with a bucket and a scrub brush And I'm charging 3 times, 4 times, 5 times higher than my competitor who has this machine that just looked like it came out of a science fiction novel. It's not the method. It's not the expectation, I think. It's what the client gets afterwards. And so when I go into there and go into people's homes, or even today, I explain to people the outcome. I explain to the people what they can expect from me. I show them how clean their carpets are going to get. They didn't care how I cleaned it. They didn't care what equipment I brought into the house. They just wanted the end result, which was a clean carpet. Yeah, coming today, I mean, in the digital world, people don't care how you build it for them. They really don't. They just want the result.
Right.
So it's, you can have the ugliest website out there, but if it's attracting clients, then it works. You can have the most beautiful, shiny website, and if it's not attracting clients, then you got to get rid of it.
Absolutely. Result.
But, building new websites every year because you think that it's going to help, it's not going to work either. So, you have to make sure that website is being seen, so it's properly optimized, and that's kind of the behind the scenes that most people don't see. It's the engine that drives that site to, be seen by Google and the other search engines. And that's what I learned early on. But I think it's also my love of learning new stuff. And when I was in high school, I learned computer programming,
Mm-hmm.
And I think our generation is the last generation that knows life before the internet. So, we need to be able to bring all those experiences forward. What I've been noticing, though, a lot of shows now are incorporating that 80s nostalgia and with modern day storytelling, and they're more successful. But
things from the past to
right
that have relevance in the present.
I think for you, for one of the things that you taught me early on was stories are our greatest asset. They people love stories. They don't like being sold. They like being entertained. And so I've taken that to heart, and almost every single book that I've produced has stories in it. Even the law books, the lawyers that I've helped with their books, all stories.
Great.
I don't want to be that guy that wants fame and fortune. That's, like I said, that's secondary. I want freedom and legacy.
Right. Yeah, that's what we all want. Freedom and legacy. Absolutely. Rob, as we're winding our time down here, I want to ask you, can you think and give me one or two of the most important life or business, well, maybe one of each, but your choice, lessons that you've learned?
Pay yourself first.
Pay yourself first.
Pay yourself first. And it was a concept that it took me a while to do. Because, as entrepreneurs, we bring in all this money and we think, okay, all the bills have to be paid first. And then once whatever was left over, that's ours. Once you set yourself up a salary, say you're going to pay yourself $1,000 a week. Yes, maybe you don't pay certain bills this week or the next week. But what you're going to find is that once you set yourself a salary and you pay yourself first, somehow, magically, and I know it's I don't like using that word, but things progress in your business to a point that all the bills end up getting paid. But when you start paying other people, vendors, contractors, even your bills first, and then you pay yourself last, guess what? All the other people are always going to be first. And you're never going to get paid. You're never going to pay yourself. At the end of the year, you're going to say, well, shit, I did all this work and I didn't get anything. Always pay yourself first, because now you have an incentive to keep working, to keep, making your passion profitable even further. And, they say that when you're on an airplane, one of the first instructions is, if there's turbulence and the air masks come down, you put the air mask on yourself first before you put it on someone else. Because if you put it on someone else first, you could risk passing out yourself and they could risk passing out. So when you take that mentality back into your business, that air mask, that paycheck needs to come to you first, and then you can do it the other way. But that's what I've been doing for the last few years. And I'm telling you, it's been incredible because it's allowed me to put money into retirement. It's allowed me to do, take more vacations. It's allowed me to do, a lot of things that I never thought were possible.
Put yourself first. It's a really important principle. I'm glad that you shared the.
And I don't want to say that it's a selfless mentality, but the thing is that you're protecting your future, and you're also contributing to that everlasting legacy. But, it comes back down to freedom. And without paying yourself first, it's very hard to have freedom to do what you want, when you want, how you want, because there's no money to do it.
I think there's a drastic difference, and I didn't know this in my youth, but between making yourself a priority and being selfish. Okay. Mm-hmm. Self-centered, self-obsessed, self-absorbed. These things are all selfish, right? But making yourself a priority means knowing that if I don't take care of myself, my health, make myself a priority, then how am I going to take care of all the people that I'm responsible for? How am I going to take care of my clients, right? Yeah. And a lot of people don't get that, because especially if somebody's raised in a religious background, Judeo-Christian, there's an awful lot of this, sacrifice, self-sacrifice. And I think it's a misinterpretation of how we're supposed to actually live, because I can't save anybody if I'm in terrible shape. Right. I can't be there for anybody. So, your point is well taken. What is the one thing that you want people to remember about you?
Oh boy, only one. That's tough.
It's a tough question.
It is a tough question because, I didn't even think there is one. I just want people to, remember me as someone who tried to bring laughter into their life.
How about somebody that did?
Or did?
Yeah.
If they've read my books, if they, if I triggered them, that's okay too. But
well,
I think especially since COVID, I've seen so many people so down, so distraught, so I think laughter is the last thing that they want to think about. And then they read my books, and they're emailing me. Oh my God, I laughed so hard. And then I gave it to my husband, and he laughed so hard. And to me, that made my day.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Rob, it's been a pleasure sitting and talk with you, my friend. We could go forever, and I will see you as usual this summer, where we'll get to go hang out and have some good food and have a lot of laughs. But in the end here, at the end of our call today, what is it that you do for clients now? Like, what is your superpower, and how can somebody get a hold of you?
Well, my superpower is I call it personality disruption. It's kind of a combination of bringing marketing, bringing personality, bringing branding into what they're doing so that they can shine in their uniqueness. I've seen so many lawyers and doctors all go to the Vulcan School of No Emotion, and then they wonder why clients don't want to deal with them. Everybody has a personality. If you can bring that personality into your branding, people are going to know you so much better. They're going to know, like, and trust and feel safe with you. And for me, sarcasm is that bonding agent. Somebody else's personality could be, they're very, they're very musical. They're very cheerful. They're very, whatever it is, use it to your advantage and let it shine. You can't be worried about, people, not liking you. like I said, it goes back to helping one person at a time. I've seen so many people try to copy other people. Oh, I want to use their branding, but it's not you.
Right.
Or I want to copy their prices. You don't know how they even came up with that price. So everything that you do has to be uniquely your own. So that's what I try to do. That's my superpower.
And how do people get a hold of you if they want your help?
They can go to my website, anspachmedia.com. That's ANSPACH media.com. And you'll learn more about me. You'll learn about the books. It's about helping you be you.
Yeah, so all of your books are available on your website. And for those of you listeners who don't know Rob, his books are the ones that he wrote years ago about the internet and social media. They are still relevant today. And so go to his website, check out his books, and take a look at the amazing collection of hilarious Rob series books. Rob takes on the scammers. Rob, give me some of the titles.
And so you can go to robversus.com.
Robversus.
That'll take you to the Amazon site where you can get all the books in paperback or on digital Kindle. There's Rob versus the scammers, Rob versus the morons, Rob versus humanity, Rob versus the entitled, Rob versus the wackadoos, Rob versus the unicorns, Rob versus the yahoos, and Rob versus the nincompoops. And the funny thing is that when we create these covers, they have to be more ridiculous than the prior one. And so it gets very hard after you've gotten to 8 to upscale that ridiculousness. So 9 and 10 will be out probably the end of this year. And I have no idea how wacky those covers are going to be, but I like producing them because I like when people respond, hey, you know what? Everybody laughs at these books, and I started out dealing with the scammers that call you, the Visa MasterCard scammers, and then for the morons was all customer service and how that just has gone downhill. And then Rob versus the Entitled was on Amazon for a while, and I guess somebody got triggered by it, and Amazon pulled it for about 6 months. And they finally put it back up. But yeah, I finally graduated to Rob got a banned book.
Another lifetime achievement there. You got to love that.
Yeah.
So go check out the books. Really, you're going to love them, and they're not just funny. They actually are a lesson in psychology, sociology, human, emotions and attitudes and the constructs of how we communicate. And it's a statement about how society is in many ways today. Some of the ridiculousness that just has become mainstream. So Rob doesn't play those games. And so you'll love it. So Rob, brother, thank you so much. I've enjoyed our time together, and I hope you come back and we'll do another one.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Hero Up. I hope today's episode challenged you to step up as a hero in your field and provided you with valuable insights to express your unique voice and message. If you found this episode helpful and motivating, please leave a review and share it with your friends and family. And remember to subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes and amazing guests. Until next time, find your voice, share your message, live your mission.